Hi and welcome to Once Upon a Time in Games for the 17th of September 2016. I don't know if I will keep the name for this news format, but I like naming things after Sergio Leone movies, so there's that. Not too many interesting news these days, even with the Tokyo Game Show still running, but let's start with an old one. The PlayStation 4 Pro. What we know so far, it's an upgraded PlayStation 4 and has in theory more than 2 times the power of the original PS4. The price point will be at $400 or euros and £350 in the UK. It's a 4K gaming device, but could in theory allow higher frame rates for games at 1080p, even though it's not the focus, and the developers can implement it for their games should they want. It's not a requirement. But all future PS4 titles have to support all 3 PS4 versions, the original, the Slim version and the PS4 Pro. In addition, they announced that some already released games like The Last of Us will get a PS4 Pro 4K patch for free. And of course it will allow a smoother VR experience for PlayStation VR. It will be out at the 10th of November 2016. As mentioned, it's marketed as a 4K gaming device and it makes a lot of people, me included, a bit skeptical how it will turn out performance-wise. Of course, depending on the application, almost everything can render things at 4K at 30 FPS, but rendering a new AAA title on the highest possible settings at 4K 30 FPS or more is quite taxing for hardware. I don't see how they will accomplish that without an extreme amount of optimization and maybe using some tricks. And that will be a pain for the developers. One advantage consoles have over PC, at least for developers, is that you can focus on one type of hardware. Now they have quite a lot of different hardware options if you consider that Microsoft is doing the same and that both Sony and Microsoft have an additional Slim version that is also slightly different. But if we compare it, Project Scorpio seems to be more powerful if we just look at the data we have, and I think constant 30 FPS at a resolution of 3840 by 2160 is more realistic for the Scorpio than for the PlayStation 4 Pro. So there will be some tricks as used for Killzone Shadowfall and upscaling, which is totally fine. Some games will run at native 4K, like Smite, at least someone from Hi-Res claimed that on Reddit, and I believe him because Smite is a very nice game, but not the most hardware taxing game in the world. Also, it was claimed that The Last of Us will render at native 4K at 30 FPS, which would be quite impressive. From a marketing standpoint, it is quite understandable because Sony also sells 4K TVs and also 4K Blu-ray players. Maybe that is why they don't include a 4K Blu-ray drive in the PlayStation 4 Pro. I think it is a bit strange to not have it, because the Xbox One S has a 4K Blu-ray player and is actually quite cheap, and I would guess that Project Scorpio has one too. But of course the PlayStation 4 Pro is still very cheap for its hardware and as a 4K gaming device. But this is basically what we already knew, and also the PlayStation 4 Neo leak was very accurate. Then we have new details on Death Stranding. It will be a multiplayer open world action game, whatever that means in the head of Kojima, with something from another world stranded in our world, and you can either poke others with sticks or bind them together with ropes. And yes, that's what he actually said. We have to wait for more details, but right now I recommend reading what Kojima said. I understand it as his experiment of building new ways of interaction in games that we haven't or have rarely seen before, and base it around the idea of not keeping something away from our character or just hitting or shooting something, but to bind it to our character and maybe even to us, for example emotionally, or to create some kind of connection to elements of the game. He also mentioned that it will be probably its own genre and that death has a new meaning in his game. So high ambitions. Let's see what an unleashed Kojima is able to create. Then we have the new Final Fantasy XV trailer from the Tokyo Game Show. I can't show footage as always, but it confirms what I already thought. The cutscenes, the voice acting, the animations are very well done, and I think story and interaction between the characters will be its strength. But typical for Japanese RPGs, it has tons of exposition, so it can help to watch at least the movie prequel for Final Fantasy XV called Kingsglaive to get better into the story. But as far as I know, you can also just play the game and start as clueless as the characters are in the game and learn more about it as the story progresses. So it depends on what you prefer, to get thrown into a world with a long and complex background story with a lot of names, locations and characters and find out more about it as you play, or to know what happened before and understanding the world and the story a bit earlier into the game. The question will be if you get lost a bit if you know absolutely nothing. We will see. The trailer is story heavy and could contain some spoilers. I will link it down in the description, but don't watch it if you want to avoid spoilers at all. The next one would be Steam made some changes to its review system. For the overall review score, only games bought directly through the Steam store are counted and shown by default if you check out the written reviews. You can still post a review and people can find it, but you get a little disadvantage if you haven't bought it directly through the Steam store. The underlying thought is not bad because companies abused it and created positive reviews to push their own games. Valve now banned a lot of those reviews, but not distinguishing between, for example, Kickstarter keys bought from other legit shops like Greenman Gaming, the Humble Store and so on, is not the perfect solution. I don't care too much about the overall score, even though it's a bit unfair, but just show all reviews by default. Else there's not much going on right now, even at the Tokyo Game Show. Only some new shiny trailers, a few interviews. The Battlefield 1 open beta got played by over 13 million people, which is quite impressive. And the Xbox One has over 250 Xbox 360 titles available. Also, Shadow of Mordor Game of the Year Edition is available for €7.50 at Steam right now. The Crew and all Battlefield 4 DLCs are also available for free. And Paladins entered open beta. I put links down in the description if you want to check them out. As promised, a relatively short video. Not my best content to be honest, but I really hope for something to happen in the last days, like Nintendo revealing some more details for the NX, but nothing. If I should get access to the For Honor Alpha or Beta or whatever it is, I will make a first impressions video if recording works better than in Battlefield 1 for me. And that wraps it up. I hope you could get at least something interesting out of this video. If you liked it, follow me on Twitter for updates or consider subscribing. Thank you for watching and goodbye.